So it's Mike Harris and Brian Bradley, and we are here at the Ultra Flat Black to talk about art. And what do we think? We have here some art from Lita Kish, where you can find at Creepy Sweet Studios. What do you think about Creepy Sweet Studios here?
I like the black and white drawing. I noticed that there's some stuff inserted in there that you're supposed to find within her art.
This is like a puzzle within a puzzle, and it is perfect for Halloween.
There's my missing hand right there.
There you go. You can find all kinds of great things at Ultra Flat Black. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook, and come by to get some art. But meanwhile, we have a show to do. It's the Smokin' Poetry Podcast, and I'm Mike Harris, and I am here with the Armynutt, Brian Bradley. Hi.
Hello. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great, and there's a lot we can talk about, but why don't we kind of start with, who is Brian Bradley today? Who are you? What are you doing?
Brian Bradley today is, I don't know. I'm retired Army, so the Army and the VA and the Social Security, they all take care of me. So really, I'm retired, and I'm a stay-at-home dad. I'm married. I have 2 kids, and we go through life. We actually just moved back here from South Florida. My wife's never lived out here, so now we moved out here, and got my kid in a good school and getting ready for the winter to come because I like to snowboard a lot. Maybe someday for putting up some racing trials at the Paralympics.
Yeah, we were talking about a little bit of that earlier. Why don't we tell them about your snowboarding? This is very interesting to me, what you're doing.
So I used to snowboard a lot. Nothing crazy, just go down blues and greens at cruising speed. And now that this happened, 2012 or 2010 is when this happened. Some of the military scholarships and some of the snowboard and skiing people out there, they want us to continue doing what we like doing. I like to snowboard, and so there's a category for me with missing a limb, so an upper body category, and they were like, hey, do you want to snowboard in the Paralympics? It's like, well, I don't know if I'm that good, but I'll give it a shot, and if my times are good, my times are good. If they're not, then hey, it was a fun experience too, because I still like to snowboard no matter what. So.
And what are you doing with this whole life of telling jokes, telling stories? What's this about?
So about a year and a half ago, I play in a pool league, APA pool league, and my wife does too. She's really good. She actually beats me now, so that's why I'm doing comedy, because she beat me at pool. But I had a comedian friend in South Florida that we were playing pool against each other, and he was like, dude, you're pretty funny. Have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy? And I'm like, no, I love stand-up comedy. I used to always watch comedy as a kid. Eddie Murphy Raw is one of my favorite comedy shows I've ever watched when I was a little kid. Still will go back and watch to this day. And I was like, no, but I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's only 3 miles down the street from my house. There's a comedy show every Tuesday. So I was like, well, what the hell? And I went down there, and I got a couple people to laugh. And really, I'm just a storyteller. Just tell stories. And my stories kind of, they're never complete without a laugh. Like, really. Like, you're always going to laugh at my troubles and my trials and tribulations that I've had in my life.
You've had trials and tribulations.
I have. Not just elephant in the room.
An elephant did that to you?
So in 2010, November 2010, I got blown up by a 105 millimeter Polish rifle. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a modern day cannon. They made those back in the Korean War, and it just shoots a 99 tank round, about 105 millimeters round. It's like the size of a bottle of vodka over there. Like it's just it is meant to cause havoc and go into a tank or go into our vehicle and cause havoc and It took off my driver's left hand, took off my right arm. It took off right at the wrist. So my right hand was complete. It was just off. And so I had shrapnel to my face, my neck, my hand, my arms. And then we rolled a couple times off the side of the road. It was a near ambush, so they were their goal was to try to take us. They wanted the Taliban wanted to take us, and and put all of our stuff out there, put us on TV, whatever they wanted to do, And we found out about that too as well. So we're like, we're never going to be a POW. We're gonna go out fighting or whatever. My right hand was complete; it was just off. So I picked it up and brought it with me. My medic was dragging me outside of the truck. After we rolled a couple times, I got knocked out, but then I came to right away too as well. I was bleeding out. I was still stuck in my seat, so I was like dangling like this. And once my medic came back, it was like a guardian angel, because they were still fighting outside of the truck, so they wouldn't come and try to take us. Finally, it was like a guardian angel. Doc came in there, like, all right, let's get you out of here now, because he already got the driver out. I was like, he drugged me out and then under fire, and then he got me over there. And it was funny, we were having this conversation earlier that week, and I was like, when are we going to be able to give somebody morphine and tell me all the signs and symptoms, and not doing this, not doing that. So I started giving the signs and symptoms back to him. I was like, dude, I'm in a lot of fucking pain here. Let me get that morphine now. So like, hey doc, you remember that conversation we had when we can get morphine to somebody?
Okay.
I'm ready for it myself.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how much pain I was in. And
oh my goodness.
The joke of it was also is that if I ever get on ride on a Black Hawk, it'll be when I get wounded. Sure enough, my first ride on a Black Hawk was when I got wounded. Oh. So I was attached to German. We were attached to Germans, and so we went to a German hospital, and they took care of me. My lip was opened up. It's like no hair grows here or anything like that. So then they did the surgery and all that stuff too, to my face, and I still have shrapnel and scar tissue and all that stuff on me. But yeah, no. Once I got to the hospital there in Afghanistan, I woke up 3 days later in another hospital across the country.
Wow. Why don't we back up just a bit and kind of set the scene for people, especially maybe younger people who don't remember 2010. What's it before this day? Mm-hmm. This horrible day here. What is your life like? What are you doing over there in Afghanistan?
So Afghanistan, when it happened in 2010, that was actually my fourth deployment. Right after 9/11, I deployed to Kuwait-Iraqi border. Then when nothing happened there, that's when everything was going on in Afghanistan in 2001, 2002. I was actually stationed here in Fort Carson, Colorado, here in Colorado Springs. And in 2003, we actually deployed to Iraq and helped with the invasion and liberation there. And that's, I think being my first combat deployment then in 2003, right after Iraq happened in April 2003, that's when my eyes really opened up about the world. And when we got back here in Colorado Springs, the city appreciated what we were doing. We appreciated what we were doing. Like everybody, we didn't know what was going on back here. Mm-hmm. We were completely in a wartime scenario. So when we came back here and the streets on Colorado Springs and downtown Tejon, we marched. They paraded us in the city like that, and it kind of felt like a mini World War II. The whole scene where the sailors kissing the girl there in Time magazine, like that's what it felt like. It felt like a mini one. So like anybody that's ever went to any type of situation like that, deployment, any type of combat or thereof or they're not, but coming back to that, the appreciation, it was like, wow, we don't know what to think of ourselves, but when we come back to America and they're like, it just really instilled the rest of my military career into me. Like, okay, well, this is what you were bred for. This is what you always thought you were. I was a Rambo running around with the kids running around in the woods when I was a kid, and it was just something I was always ready for. And so when we came back in 2004 and the parade for us, like that was super cool. And then from then on, it just kept spiraling the right way to all my deployments, and I would get deployed again. I used to be an Army recruiter here in Colorado. Like Colorado is also what I love. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from small farm town, Ohio, and but once I turned 19 and graduated, I moved out here, stationed out here at Fort Carson, and I've been deployed a couple other times. I've deployed to Baghdad for 15 months, pretty much as a bodyguard, and so everything big that was happening during those times, I was around it. So that was going back to Iraq another time, choosing to go back. Just it gave me a lot of trust and belief myself, and then when another time when I went deployed, and I deployed to Afghanistan with this unit, 10th Mountain. This is our unit, 10th Mountain, and out of New York, and so from 2001 to 2010, I was going to different combat scenarios and being Armynutt, really. Just you got to be a little nuts to do some of that stuff.
What was your role going up, and obviously it's changed over the years, but up until 2010, what was your role at that point?
Role of daily life or role as in combat?
Within the Army.
I have to have a switch.
Like, what was your rank? What was your?
I was
job?
a sergeant. I was just an E5 sergeant for the most of the time. I really enjoyed kicking indoors and investigating stuff going on and trying to help people out. Really, like there was one time when in Baghdad when we rescued this kid who was a teenager, and the Al Qaeda, they were kidnapping people and trying to ransom for money and stuff like that to further on what they were doing, and then especially some ISIS stuff too as well. And when we returned this kid back to their family, the cries, the hugs, like it really puts you in another like you didn't know it meant like that, something to somebody else, so it's almost like a blank. You're almost like in a blank space because you don't know how to feel, but you're doing what you like to do, you're doing what you love and doing, and you see what happens when a good day happens. There's bad days when there's nobody left to go take home to or bring home to or something like that, or when your friends die in combat, like that's some of the harshest ones.
Yeah. You said good days, and that was a very nice story about a good day. And there's also bad days, and there's been more than one bad day, it sounds like. What do you want people to know about that experience of the good days, the bad days?
For me, it's like when I was in South Florida for like 7 years, and it's kind of really going through therapy and stuff like that, because you're gonna have trauma from something grand and something bad, and I had to go through all the therapy to numb this down, to be okay with talking about this. Like I have a I don't want to call it a diary, but I had a prolonged exposure therapy. And so you just go through everything, and then I would sit there and go through everything with full detail on how I felt during that whole situation while I was in that truck. Oh my God, I could see them across the road trying to come at us, And so you think of the craziest things, my arm was jagged and the bones are sticking out, that's a weapon if I need it, because if they're gonna come and take me, I don't want to be taken, and stuff like that. So that was always. Never mind.
Won't get whatever you want to say about this.
That was always why I always was upset whenever I heard somebody making fun of a POW back in 2016. The one, somebody got made fun of, John McCain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when I first got lost, and I was like, you really don't know what it's like, and downplaying military and POWs like that, you don't have my side no more. That's how serious I take what I've done, and that's how serious I take what other people have done for this country, for this world, for that matter. Like, I like to be able to enjoy walking down the street. I like to be able to vote. I like to do all that stuff. Like in Afghanistan, they were cutting people's fingers off if they found that they went and voted, because they used the ink pad, and then they put their thumbprint next to whatever, and so if they saw your fingers dip like that, they would cut that finger off. So like, we don't have to live like that. And so like, I wish I didn't even have to go to another country, but Afghanistan was, Iraq, yes, made sense. To me, Afghanistan, I never really appreciated a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff was inside jobs.
What do you mean didn't appreciate?
Well, they, like we would get stuff for the schools and for the hospitals and stuff like that. And you could, like I said before about the Baghdad situation where we brought Kid back, it wasn't just because something that serious, but also bringing stuff into the schools, bringing money to the schools and into the city, and really helping them create the democracy that they wanted, create the type of government, the type of people, the type of safety that they wanted. In that part of the world, it's very dangerous to get ahead. If you get ahead, somebody's going to try to stomp on you. And with that, like in Afghanistan, it really was. There were some inside jobs on us.
And I obviously don't say anything to get yourself in trouble, but what does that mean, inside job?
Some of the Afghan police, some of the Afghan army, the checkpoints and stuff like that were run secondary stuff that behind our backs, or they would. We had some of them targeting us. The 105 millimeter cordless rifle was actually on an Afghan checkpoint a couple of weeks prior to that. We were actually looking for it because it came up missing. Missing. Yeah. They just left. So then they turned it on us. Well, we found it.
Oh gosh.
So
this was not like it. Actually, maybe this is a good time to kind of explain what exactly happened. We said what the results were, but how were you in the situation? Were you weren't going into a battle, or necessarily?
Yeah, it was a near ambush.
Okay.
They bypassed all the, waited for the Afghan armies to leave. I waited for Afghan police to roll through, the Hungarians to roll through, a lot of other people rolling through, and then it was just waiting for our patrol, which we were on our way to the police station. So it's not like they didn't know we were coming, and it happened before it.
So it was like out of nowhere and you're shot kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't like out of nowhere. It was like within a minute after, because we were still getting blasted by RPGs and machine gun fire and stuff like that. And then what we thought was an RPG ended up being a bigger round, and being a 105 millimeter round. So, and like you said, don't want to say too much.
Yeah. Did everyone make it out?
Everyone did make it out. Yeah,
okay.
Everyone did, of our guys.
Okay. Well, maybe that's two good things. How much do you know and remember of what happened to the other side?
So I kind of have this thing where I remember everything almost since like grade school. I have a picture memory. I forget the exact word for it. But I don't know if it's connected by trauma. I've read that it can be. I pretty much, neglected and undiagnosed ADHD 80s kid. Mm-hmm. So, and I kind of just, where are we at? Yeah, see, that kind of happens too. The explosion didn't give me another hand.
I understand. Well, how much do you remember or know about what happened?
Unless I was knocked out unconscious for that brief moment, everything down to remember I said if I have to stab somebody with my arm, the bones of my arm, I'll do whatever I got to do. and my left hand was all damaged as well. My bottom 3 fingers, they were surprised that I had those, especially the pinky and the ring finger. So getting dragged out of there, you know, I couldn't walk. I had a blood clot in my right femoral artery too as well. It was definitely like it was the most like tensifying days of my days, you know, just because you're bleeding, you know, like when you got your open wounds like that, it's going to be the hardest day of your life. But my soldiers, my men were able to take care of me and make sure I got off the battlefield, as well as my driver. Like I said, he lost his left hand too as well. So like both my driver and I, we both got out of there. When we were on the Black Hawk, we were probably flying about a 30-minute flight almost. And I'm just like seeing Afghanistan hills and mountains just going by. And I was able to make it all the way to the base. And when I landed there, I was like, man, could you put me out? I'm just like, doing that right now, honey. And in her English-German voice.
Yeah.
But I also had to take a big poop that morning earlier too. We were on our way to the police station. So Armynutt has a lot of shitty stories, shitting on combat, shitting in missions, stuff like that. So I had to take a big old dookie when we got to that where we were going to go to, but we didn't make it there, obviously. And I didn't shit for another 2 weeks later because, you know, I'm in ICU for a month and a half, and I had to shit in Afghanistan. I went up to Germany to launch school, still couldn't shit. I flew all the way to Washington D.C. Walter Reed. Somewhere during that flight, I had to shit. So this is like a few days later, but I still couldn't. Trying to shit on a C-130 while I'm laying down on my back. It wasn't until like almost another week later, I'm at Walter Reed, and no shit, it was like long as my arm, probably as thick as my arm too. Hurt like hell. That's one of the biggest things I remember about that is I had to go to the bathroom.
I just find it fascinating that 14 years after you lose your arm and suffer all these horrific injuries, what you remember is you had to shit.
We were talking about on the radio and everything on the way out there. You're like, then Sergeant Bradley could take a shit. So yeah, there's it's kind of foreshadowing to the little poem I wrote for you later.
Okay. That leads me to a serious question about how you cope. Because, I mean, I assume that this is not everything's fine immediately once the doctors let you out of the hospital. And you've been doing this comedy thing. What do you want to let people know about that?
Well, first off, from Walter Reed, Washington D.C. When I first got there, like, music is my life. Like, I love listening to music. It's been my center my whole life, even since having a Walkman, you know. But when I got to ICU, and one of the nurses, she gave me her iPod, and it was all Christian music, and I'm just sitting there listening to it, and just focus on the words, because I was in some serious pain, and not just physical pain, but the mental pain, you know. And really, a break from that is the music. When I finally got my iPod to me, I have so Bob Marley really got me through. Mm-hmm. 3 Little Birds is my song. I listen to it over and over and over and over, and anybody that sings that song, I listen to it over and over and over, because it puts me at my strongest when I'm at my weakest. It really is. And so, like, throughout the years, ever since 2010, like, I've done a lot of things, and really keeping yourself busy, like. And like with that, like the snowboarding, the joke telling, the guest speaking, the different trips, different sports. I also competed in the Warrior Games back in 2012. We had the Warrior Games here at the Air Force Base, or Air Force Academy.
By the way, what is that when you say Warrior Games?
Warrior Games, it's kind of like the military and wounded, so all the different branches, and then they kind of compete, almost like a mini Olympics in a sense. And so we have the different events, like we have cycling, we have the shooting, we have the track and field, and we have seated volleyball, seated basketball, stuff like that. I believe next year in May is also going to have the Warrior Games here in town again as well. I haven't competed in that since 2012, but I think with ADHD, it just wants to do everything, and I think I've annoyed my whole family, my wife, and everybody that I just want to do everything. Like, you only have one life to live, and when you go through what I went through, what about there's something next that you haven't got to see, you haven't got to do, or you person you haven't got to meet? Like, and I've met a lot of famous people too as well. I wasn't even ready for it, famous people, you know? Like, like when I was there at Walter Reed, I got to meet the vice president at the time, who is now the president of the United States. So when I got to meet Mr. Joe Biden, I didn't know if I didn't even know if it was real. Like, I didn't, because of all the medications I was on and stuff, you know. Yeah. And then, but he was talking to me. He was talking to my family. Yeah, they came there on Christmas Eve and stuff. Him and his wife, and so.
I'm kind of curious. I mean, I know we're not a political show, but obviously you can say whatever you want also. Yeah. But how much of that to you seemed genuine versus a politician who needed to shake hands?
I probably didn't think that much about it then, except for the funny, crazy story how he headbutted my mom about the situation that he found himself in of getting a dog, and he's like, and you know what I did? And then boom, I got a dog. But yeah, so like, I was like, oh, okay. And, and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, like, she invited me and a couple other wounded warriors to dinner there on the base at the Walter Reed. And it was like personal. She also brought a White House chef, and they were back there cooking. And we were eating and stuff like that and having a good old time. And, she addressed me, and she remembered about being in my hospital room and stuff like that. And then probably, I don't even remember if we had dessert, maybe if we did have dessert, but it was before that. And then gentlemen in black suits started walking in, Secret Service started walking in, and then walks Vice President Joe Biden, and so he remembered me. He talked to me about different things. Like, I have a personal picture with him and stuff. Like, so that's when I was like, and then he was like, "Hey, why is your mom here? Is your mom?" And it's like, "Oh, she wasn't feeling good." So he got on the phone and he called her. And he was like, and he's like, "Ms. Bradley, this is Joe Biden," and.
So back then he must have had a good memory.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. What I found out is that people can do whatever they want in their free time, but if you're hanging out with military members of the United States Force, you're hanging out with wounded warriors that serve this country, and we're here in D.C. You could be doing anything else, and you're hanging out with me. Like, he actually got me my first NFL football game. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan.
Really?
And he's an Eagles fan. And so he had to go out of the country, but he said if he was going to be in country, he was going to go to the game, and then they could be up there in the box. But instead, he did send tickets to me and my mom and my sister. We went and watched the Cowboys beat the Eagles. It was like New Year's Eve or something like that, back in 2010. And so that was, going to the game and seeing appreciation for military, like, period. I mean, period. Like, there was no negative things that ever came out. Nothing, So like that was big. And so then when political stuff came out later, like I was almost a POW myself. My friends and I were. People had died for this country. To make anything like comedy about it or not a comedy about it, whatever it is you're doing, like that ain't cool because it means you're making fun of me.
Yeah.
You're making fun of me because I know I'm a good person. And then that's when I took heart to things, and then and to continue on forward is like I also met some other really cool people. Bob Dole, I like to say Mr. Dole, and,
right.
and he came to my bedside one night because he was also going through surgery and stuff there at Walter Reed at the same time. Mm-hmm. So he also invited me to his birthday party. He had a personal birthday party at the Watergate where he lived. Mm-hmm. So you got to see the names on the doors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, so guys, I know there's young people probably don't even know who Bob Dole is, but he was a kind of an important guy.
Yeah.
Right. He was what year was it that he was Republican nominee for president? In what year?
Oh my God.
In the 90s, or was it the
horrible with my name?
90 something. I don't know. 96.
Yeah,
was it maybe?
It was in the 90s, I believe.
Someone can fact check us. That's fine. So what?
But it was just personal,
Yeah.
There was like I don't think I ever had anybody politically talk to me while I was in DC. And that was the greatest thing. Like I get invited for Red Cross stuff. I get invited to functions around DC and stuff like that. They did that for a lot of Wounded Warriors out of Walter Reed. Like I got to meet Forrest Whitaker. I got to meet Joe Mantegna. I got to meet Gary Sinise twice, and a lot of other people. I did, and then they would send us on like concerts and stuff like that, and meet and greets and stuff, and like it was constantly putting things in front of you, constantly doing things to keep your mind motivated, keep your mind not focused on the shit what you just went through a while ago, and then that's the way with this anything. I mean, you could just sit in a cave and dull, recall everything that's ever bad in your life. You're going to think more about the bad than you will the good.
Yeah, and
I know that because I didn't leave my living room for many, many years. I'm just retired, collecting the government pension, and that is never ever going to work. And then like I know other veterans. I've tried to help out homeless veterans in Washington, in Florida, at West Palm Beach, VA. I would help put together some stuff like that. So like, always keep myself busy is really the biggest thing. Really not unfascinated about anything. Really, like I would talk forever if you asked me to.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna edit this, but this is all. I think it's all important that we're doing. But I wanted to ask, how important do you think it is to stay active, and what would you say to other people, whether it be veterans or others who have had something happen who are not being active?
Yeah, and I've met men and women that are stuck in that rut that I once was, and it's easy to get stuck back in it again. It really is. So by not sharing your stories, by not finding a way through some type of therapy. That's why I look at my comedy as mental health therapy. I call it mental health comedy therapy. Really, I started the hashtag. It doesn't even exist, and I was like, okay, well, this is what it is. This is what it's doing for me, and and that's kind of like where I would like it to go, is to be able to come and talk to guest speak for other people too as well, because I know that just peer support helps out. Like the VA is doing peer support, and that's something that I've probably been looking at, probably going to be doing too, because it's going to help me by talking to somebody and helping them with their problems. Like I have done it verbally and stuff like that. I just haven't done it on the phone calls and stuff. But it's like doing the comedy stuff is getting me okay to be in public again. And so that's what I'm doing. I also want to take comedy classes. I'm also taking improv classes over to Peak Improv, which is a great place. If I'm going to do a plug, it's for Peak Improv. There you go. They have, learning how to speak, guest speak, and being silly with it, like is great. And I notice it's been working for me very, very well. Yes, I would like to someday have a podcast or go on people's podcasts and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. Because what I've done in the world, I've been around the world plenty of times. I've met people. You know who my battle buddy was when I was in basic training? Bobby Lashley, the WWE wrestler.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he wasn't in wrestling then. But he was so knowledgeable about wrestling and so knowledgeable, and so I couldn't do my 42 push-ups in 2 minutes. He got me to do my 42 push-ups in 2 minutes, and then some, and my running and stuff like that. Like, people have a connection that can help you and share the world of their knowledge of whatever it is you're going through. If you're having a trauma, and then we can find some way to identify it because we're all human, we're all people.
Speaking of dealing with trauma through performing, a great place to do that is the Ultra Flat Black. And I have noticed that whether you're a poet, musician, comedian, or whatever, we all are dealing with something in one form or fashion. And it seems like this is, I know for me, it very much has been therapy, doing my little poetry, joke telling thing. And obviously, the comedy, has that helped you out pretty much?
Yeah, I get to joke about the things that, I can do self-deprecation jokes. I can also do self-defecating jokes because that's happened a lot in my career. I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Okay.
And so whenever things get tense, which in my line of work back then, it was always getting tense. So sometimes I had to go to the bathroom on the move. You do what you got to do.
Any funny stories?
Lots of funny stories. Yeah.
Any jokes you'd like to share?
Well, so in Iraq '03, I believe it was for a celebration with the town. I believe it was after Saddam was caught. We got all these sandwiches that the town made us, and I believe I have a heart of a lion, or a stomach of a lion, and so I ate a few more sandwiches, and I ended up getting dysentery from eating some of the local sandwiches and stuff like that because they were wet and soggy and stuff. And so for 2 weeks straight, I am just uncontrollably shitting all over the place. Our platoon had we had a chair and we had a hole cut in it, and so we would just grab a chair if anybody had to go to the bathroom. That's all we had. We didn't have no toilets. We didn't have no porta johns or nothing like that. I think it was like another month later, maybe it was less than a month later, because we had some of the engineers. They built us some porta johns out of wood, and then we had to get diesel and burn our shit from the can. You heard about the burn pits? Well, we also have the shit burning detail as well.
Okay, what's that?
So you have the half of a can, half of a 55-gallon drum, and metal, of course, and we had to drag that out from the man-made porta john, and we had to pour diesel JP8 in there and get it lit on fire, and then eventually it'll turn into ash, all the shit. And so you're in charge of that, So when they talk about burn pits, they'll be like, I know worse pits. I know worse pits. Well, when I had dysentery, I would carry that chair around that we cut a hole in, and then I would just carry it around with me everywhere I go. And I had these paint buckets, and then we would fill up with sand, and we would use them as fires, which there's a funny fire getting shot at one night with the fires in the paint cans. But I would take one of those paint cans, I would carry it around with me, and then I would just sit down, I'd be pulling guard, or I'd just be sitting down wherever, and I couldn't go on missions either. I just had to sit there and shit and wait for it to happen again, because dysentery waits for nobody.
It's the equalizer.
Yeah, you get a lazy sphincter, yeah. So one night I'm actually up on guard, and my buddy is talking to me, and we're up there just pulling security, and I'm ready to go, and I just drop them and then go right there on the roof, right into the paint can. Yeah, I'm a shitty soldier, and about 2 weeks, and you usually, with enough IVs and eating healthy foods and stuff like that, and trying to whatever healthy you can eat out there anyway, in that type of situation. But we were on our way to one of the bases, and I do this joke and I do the whole bit where I do it in live action scenario, because I'm in the back of a 5-ton truck and you got the tarp down covering it so nobody can see inside. But just in case we don't make it to the base, I got my ass sticking out the side, so it's going to spray all over the side of the road, and you can just see Iraq rolling by. And so 2.5 weeks later, doc thinks that I should be fine. Well, I'm still shitting uncontrollably. I didn't have this diagnosis of IBS until I got back. When I got back, I had to get a colonoscopy with no medication colonoscopy, because make sure I had Crohn's disease. I have a colonoscopy joke on my YouTube channel, which I don't really have a YouTube channel. It's just something I started. And I know I put colonoscopy on my Instagram. Yeah.
I found this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share it or not. I was like, I don't know, but we can share it now if you want. Now.
Well, my colonoscopy?
Well, your little YouTube channel with your
one
video of your colonoscopy jokes.
That's what it's so all my life I feel like I've had so many different jobs. I've been in so many different scenarios. I've been there for so many different people, and so really and then I named my pool team Identity Crisis. So I kind of think if I have a company, we call it Identity Crisis Connections. Mm-hmm. And whatever you need, whatever kind of speaker you need, whatever type of help you need, just a jester and fool with many ideas, but nothing ever fruition of it. I'm just a jack of all trades, and whatever you need, I got.
What would you like to do if someone wanted someone like you to tell jokes or tell stories or talk to other people? What kind of things are you hoping to maybe have opportunities to do in the future?
A podcast or co-host, my own radio personality. I want to also help out others, especially other veterans and stuff like that, because I have done that, and that really was really rewarding. So I kind of want a kind of culmination of everything and getting the word out. I do like to write, but I haven't really published anything. I haven't at all published anything, like the book of Armynutt. Armynutt story. I also like to write stories or movies, scripts, but
about what kind of stuff?
Most of the time it's been my dreams or daydream. I got action movies that I've written up. I've also gotten some comedy action ones, kind of like a Kevin Hart type movie, or I also got I got an Armynutt movie where he's Armynutt, he's a jester.
Okay.
Yeah, so a jester actually, they were always like the king and queen's person. But imagine there at the very end, the jester would be the one that protects the king and queen, because who wants life of the king and queen? Who doesn't,
I love your cards. And I'll do a little thing in here, but I noticed if you have to look really, really close. I did. Is the arm? Am I seeing that right? Is that supposed to be
he's
like
got a hook? Yeah.
Is that a yeah?
So he's one on the back. He's got his hook too as well.
You got to look really close.
And he's got a bag of goodies. Kind of like Santa Claus. Whatever you reach in is whatever you get. Whatever you want.
I love the logo. It is great. And speaking of which, you were beyond just telling some jokes. You started doing your own kind of gig here. What's going on with this hosting job?
Over at Murray Street Darts, over on Platte and Murray, it's called Murray Street Darts. Every last Sunday of the month. This month will be October 27th. We just had a show. I just had a show this past Sunday, and it was only my second show, and I really want to be hosting my own shows. But the best way to do it is do it yourself, and then maybe eventually I can host for people. I think the most out of comedy is I'd rather be more of like a producer, so that way, because I know I'm maybe funny story-wise, but I'm not that everyday comic that can make you laugh multiple times a minute. But I'd rather produce the shows and bring the comedians to me and bring in people to come and watch and laugh. My shows are free. Take care of the bartender. And, we've been thinking about getting a tip jar out there or something like that if that comes to fruition. I don't usually try to get money from people, but if you donate, you donate. But like I said, every last Sunday of the month at Murray Street Darts. It's October 27th this year, and the shows start at 6:30. Comics, if you can get there a little bit early to sign up, it'd be grand.
But it's all X.
I'm switching it to all acts because going to Bar K on Thursday nights, I realized Andrew's got groups that come there that are not just comedy and music and poetry and the Smoke and Poetry podcast. It's what I like, and it's what I want. I want to not just single out comedians. I want to single out everybody that has something to share. So if you have something to share, by all means come out. I have a 2-hour block. Come on out. And in Murray Street Darts, we have dart tournaments. We also have pool tables. If you think you can beat me on the pool table, I have my arm with me and I'll play you. Even if I don't have my arm, I have taken tape and a pool stick and taped it around my nub, and I still have won. So I used to play pool a lot when I was a kid, so I know a teenager, I was in bars before I was allowed to be in bars, taking people's money on the pool table. So we also have a little poker tournament too, and people try to win a little bar tab there too as well. So we do comedy there on the last Sunday of the month too as well. With the snowboarding thing coming up soon, I know my schedule's going to be full up in the mountains. So I might have to find another host for those shows. Who knows if I can make it or not. But that also means some other ideas that I've had for other comics. Because like I said, I'd rather produce, and so I want to have a group of comedians that can do at least 5 to 10 minutes, and then I want to bring them to different ski resort towns, and I want to bring them around our town. I'm thinking we could do nursing homes and stuff like that, because I did something like that as a guest speaker at nursing homes in Florida, and it worked great. And then they invited me back. So if you got clean enough humor for 5 to 10 minutes, that's something I want to get into after the first of the year. Hell, I got 2 nursing homes live right beside me. So it's something that nobody's doing yet, and it will take care of the comics that are trying to get their name out there more. And so with my comics, I have 2 comics that does 15 minutes for me a piece for my comedy show. And then the open mic will start after that. It gets that bulb rolling, it gets everybody feeling what's going on. And if you're a comic and you got 15 minutes, solid 15 minutes, I want to book you. Every last Sunday of the month.
We're back, and no shit, if you really need a place to come out and share your stuff, come to Ultra Flat Black. Not only do we have beautifully clean toilets, but every Tuesday night, open mic, all acts. It's always a great time. This is the place in Colorado Springs where all of us big artists, that's what we think we are, us big artists. It's where we all met. We meet here, right? And what else did we talk? Oh, we talked about Kish earlier, by the way. Yeah, we did. We could talk about Kish some more. This is some beautiful art. And every month there's a different artist. For October, we have spooky stuff.
Yes.
It is really
And there's
cool.
little dicks and people pooping hidden in almost every single artwork.
Because we just can't have enough shit on the Smoke and Poetry podcast. So, and we have different events on Fridays and Saturdays. Of course, the Poetry Slam, first Friday of every month, where you can find me. And anything else in particular we got coming up, Tony, that we want to talk about?
October 12th. On October 12th, we have a live podcast in Pueblo for UFB's podcast at Smitty's Greenlight. Come out and see us.
No, I want to switch from that fun to actually, I think something I had mentioned before we recorded, and I think it's maybe a good thing for the public. First part of my question is, do you notice different things walking and going around? It's obvious, that you lost your arm, about how people treat you, whether people look at you. Do you notice anything about that?
I would say not really Colorado Springs. Other places that I've been to, I mean, when I was walking around in Vegas, you're like, ugh, ugh, what? But around here, I think more people are accepting of whatever you are, whatever you look like. And I think that's not the only reason what brings me back to Colorado Springs ever since I first moved here in 2001. Like, even if I had to live somewhere else, I still would gravitate towards this place because I think of the way how people are accepting. Yeah.
Do you, a lot of us, we have this talk, veterans, and we talk about how do you feel about people saying things to you? I mean, and sometimes we get annoyed by it, like thank you for your service, and sometimes, how do you feel about when people say something to you? Do you want them? Do you not want them to? How do you feel?
Yeah, no, I appreciate when people say things, especially when I'm not even hearing, or it's not even to me, it's to another veteran or somebody else. Like, I love seeing that appreciation and that freedom that we have here in America. When somebody addresses me, I say thank you for your support, really, because without your support, like, what are we? Like, technically with civilian population, the support I get every month, because the taxes, the government pays me. So, like, essentially, the people pay me, America pays me. So, I appreciate that double-handedly. And then, like, for a personal level, like, I know, like, if I'm, like, trying to do different things and trying to open up my water bottle or do whatever I'm trying to do, people will be like, hey, do you need a hand? It's like, well, yes, I need a hand. Can I help you? Oh, you're a psychiatrist? I see them all the time. Lunch is free. So, but I do also understand, because this happened, and I'm 30 years old when this happened. When I lost my hand, I'm 29 years old or something like that. And so, like, I get it, because I would be asking, like, oh shit, do you need a hand? Whatever, like, or hey, can I help you? Like, for the most part, I like doing everything myself. 90%, maybe even more than that. The biggest thing about it is, if I encounter this when nobody's around, and if I had everybody help me up into that situation, now I'm by myself. Mm-hmm. The frustration and the upsetness that I'll be able to get because of something I can't do, because it's my first time doing it, or I got this done before somebody's helping me. So, like, for the most part, if it's something that I need to do because I've never done it, or I also have to, I also have to remember that people just inherently want to help. Mm-hmm. If it's a small single task, no, I don't want your help, because that's something that it'd be more demeaning to me if I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, I messed up my knee a few days ago, and I really was not moving from the couch. I've got it rested up, and so, my kid is doing something for me, or my wife's doing something for me, or so like, it's more of an internal frustration in my mind than it is anything else. I try not to. No, I don't need your help. I could have buttoned my pants for myself. Like, or open up the bottle or whatever. Like, it's my 5 fingers have gotten me along for the past 14 years. Mm-hmm. who knows how long that's going to last. But so, like the appreciation of military and veterans, yes, I love it. I love hearing about it. I love hearing other vets and stuff getting helped out and stuff like that. That's amazing because it means we continue to grow as a nation, and we always need that. Like what Vietnam vets went through is mostly because of media, because of how bad it looked and how bad everything was looking over there. When they came back, they were when the people were drafted, they were called losers. So it's really, really horrible, like what people had to go through, and only because nobody talked to them, nobody understood, and so they were just left in dust. So I don't want to imagine what that would be like for the veterans now. Yeah. And so that's something that can always be appreciated, and it never is enough.
Speaking of portrayals and stuff, is there anything that you would like people to know that the general public is not aware of, that you think people should, you always wanted people to know, you wish people know this was what it's really like about the military or anything?
I really don't know how to start it out, but I will kind of jump back onto the fact of Vietnam vets, and any veterans for that matter. I kind of almost connect that with what I want to podcast about, is what did these soldiers go through? What did soldiers of every wartime scenario went through? And the more that we share, the more that we communicate with one another, the more that we understand one another. And that was another thing that they missed out on. They didn't get to communicate. They didn't get the help. And so now when they're getting help now, I've met a lot of Vietnam vets, and they're missing out on what we are getting, the newer age veteran. And so for that, I just really wish people would listen and to lend an ear, to sympathize, to empathize, and really understand that your trauma that you have, and then your trauma that you have, everybody's personal trauma that they have, they've met their peak. And each time we get a new crazy or traumatic event, you've met your peak. Just because my peak is a different peak doesn't mean we're different. It just means we both went through something. And so with that, when somebody introduces themselves, your life, you don't have to carry your trauma into that initial situation. You can easily identify with one another of your own traumas. They don't have to be the same, similar. They don't have to be. We are similar in ourselves. So really, you're never going to cure somebody, especially when it comes to mental trauma. You just won't. But the more I talked about what happened to me, the more I talked about certain situations. I have a situation that happened in Baghdad, and it involves dead kids, and it really, really was one of my worst ones. It was worse than this.
Really?
When I had to go through prolonged exposure to help take care of this, I remember I said I was in a cave in South Florida. I wasn't really doing much except recollecting on what was going on. Mm-hmm. I went and got help. I went to domiciliary in West Palm Beach, checked myself in, and I went through a 45-day program. I attacked it so hard. It was a really bad first month. It really, really sucked. Every day was, I'm a crier. Right? I'm an emotional guy. The fact that I haven't cried on here is, you're lucky. So, but I really went through a lot of traumatic stuff, and so I didn't have to worry about my arm when I went to this program. They were like, you'd be a good candidate, so then I started sharing what was going on. And some of the things I seen in Baghdad for those 15 months was just horrible. I've had bullets with my name on it, literally, because this happens when you're essentially a bodyguard, where anything that happened in those 15 months in Baghdad, we are a part of, but with the government, with everything, because that's where I found myself. The very first time Geraldo Rivera was invited back to Iraq,
Oh,
he was in my truck.
Old guys like me, I remember this thing on the news where he did something.
Gave a
He gave a
away.
position away
Yeah.
inadvertently or something, and it wasn't on purpose. I don't think.
Well, his very first time
But
back,
it
he
was
was in
like
my truck, and I was escorting around Baghdad. So, yeah.
So-
I was responsible taking dignitaries around and stuff Baghdad. It just so happened that he happened to be one of them. And General Petraeus and a couple other people. Like we would just escort them around and stuff like that, and then we had the dignitaries and stuff too as well. They also showed. I also got to see the appreciation in the people of Iraq and Baghdad when they saw my combat patch. I was with a different deploying unit, but they saw my patch, 4th ID patch. I deployed with the Fort Carson. And they were like, when they saw that patch, like, you came back here. Yes, sir, I came back here. So that, they saw that patch, and that's the 4th ID patch that got Saddam, And so, like, when you look at the newspaper, you see their patch. And so, like, Iraqi people don't forget that. Like, they were in turmoil. They were getting fed to tigers. I mean, that's who wants to live like that? And so the elders they recognize stuff like that, and so that was rewarding when you weren't even ready for one. Like how much they appreciate you and when you came back and what you did. So it's like if I still had my hand, I'd still be in.
We've been going a while, and yet we've barely scratched the surface. And there's so many things. I feel like we could do like a multiple hour series just on your experiences, and they're quite fascinating. But I really do want to, before we go, I want to tell people a little bit about, or may have you tell people if you would like to, about your family. What's going on there? Have you been married? How long about?
Yeah, when I was on a trip to South Florida, I met my wife and stayed living there for another 8 years. Then we moved back here, actually just last year. So I got a daughter in 2nd grade, and I got a 21-year-old that lives out here with us too. And
how were you married at the time
I was not.
you lost your arm?
I was not. I was a single soldier. I really never made time for that, and when I did make time for that, I also lost somebody. I lost a girlfriend at one time back in 2008, and so right after 2008, I was in a location where I was just teaching, basic training soldiers. I wasn't a drill sergeant; I was just like a cadre teaching communications in the gas chamber and stuff. And then once that death happened, we were kind of like a long distance, getting back together kind of thing. And once that happened, I really was lost. And so I went to this unit, 4th Drum, and I was like, I want to get deployed. I want to go back overseas, do what I can do. And that was in 2010 when we deployed, of course. So once I got out, I was just going wherever. I was going from one fun thing to do to the next, and I'd be throwing barbecues and parties and stuff like that at my house, or I would be going to the U.S. Open, or I'd go to a football game, or I'd go snowboarding, or with this group or with that group, and there's a lot of organizations out there to help out Wounded Warriors. Essentially, for me, snowboarding in December, they're helping a Wounded Warrior out too as well, trying to get me to do something else. Find out what my niche is, because, like I said, I have identity crisis. Who knows what I'm going to do?
I have the tough question.
You were
I
asking
ask
about
you.
being married.
I want to ask that too. Yeah, how's that going?
What's that?
Well, marriage.
Married. So I have an amazing wife. Nicole is. We met on Tinder.
What? Huh? Is that?
Yeah.
I thought. I have no words.
I know,
I didn't know
right?
that it was possible.
So here's this story. So I'm in South Florida. I'm helping out a buddy with his boat that's out there, and I finally started getting enough out of my shell. And this was 2014, 15. So I got my shell again, and people were like, "Hey, you should probably try dating again." You know, like, I don't know, how does everybody feel about me? Stuff like that, you know, or actually, I think I wore my hook on the date, on the first date. So I was trying this online dating thing, and really I was finding bots and stuff on some of these online dating sites. So then just some guy I was just drinking with at a bar, he was just like, hey, why don't you try Tinder? And I'm like, oh, I heard about it, I don't know about it. So I downloaded the app, right? And I'm scrolling within a few minutes after I downloaded the thing. And I think it was maybe a week. Yeah, it was like a week. And it was on Valentine's Day. And I'm driving down to go to the Miami Boat Show. And I'm in my truck, and my sound system's pretty nice. And so I hear this giant flame sound in my truck. Whoosh, whoosh. What the hell was that? I didn't know what the hell a Tinder message sounded like. And get this flame sound. I didn't know that. And it was this girl that says, hi, how are you? And good morning or afternoon, whatever it is for you. And happy Valentine's Day. And we started talking. And that was a week on Tinder. And a couple weeks after, we shut down our Tinder site. Yeah, it was, I think, about a month and a half later, I already knew that I loved her. And was like, you know what, I need to start asking some of these questions to the veteran group or to the military groups. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about getting married. What do I do next? Like I don't know anything civilian. Like I am strictly Army, soldier, Armynutt. Like I think the nut part is kind of there. So like with my wife and I, like, yes, we would be the Tinder advertisement, you know, because she's had a few dates on there, and she said, you're lucky you didn't have to go on any dates, Brian. So our first date, I took her to a dinner comedy show. So comedy's always been my life anyway. So regardless of being stand-up comedy or whatever. So we've been married for 8 years now, and I actually have this tattoo that I got, and every year I add a new bee, because she's my honeybee.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
I know.
I'm not very romantic, but that's very nice. But I do want to ask the big question before we kind of wrap up, because I'm thinking about this. If one of your kids came to you and said, I want to enlist, what would you say?
I would set aside times to be their drill sergeant. And like, if this is something you really want to do, but for the most part, they all know my story. They all know what happened and stuff. It's like, but if they wanted to, I wouldn't say no, you can't. I really, to get ahead in life, if you're not doing well, give a few years in the Army, give a few years in any military, because they'll take care of you. You're taking care of America. You're taking care of families and people that need you. And if it's something that you want to do, then you go do it. Because it's something I always knew I wanted to. I always thought it was Rambo running around in the woods. So like, it's something that I train myself to get ready to do. So I believe if it's a military thing you want to do, when I was an Army recruiter, I would help the soldiers that want to join the Army, and we would do PT and whatever. Like, because I don't want you to fail. I'd rather fail and you learn from my mistakes and then help you out along, because I love seeing people's success, and if I can help out in any way possible, then that makes me feel really good.
Are you glad you did it after everything?
Yeah, definitely. I'd go back through it again. Yeah, maybe put my hand in a different spot. Maybe not try to catch it.
Got any final questions, Tony, that you would like us to know about? No? Anything else you would like the people to know about before we kind of wrap it up?
No, come to Murray Street Darts, October 27th, every last Sunday after that of the month. Free comedy show before payday. Why not?
And, I think this was a wonderful interview. This has been an honor, the honor of my life. So thank you.
Thank you. First podcast for me, an honor. Thank you very much, Mike.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the Ultra Flat Black.
Woo!
And really, this is a great place. We really encourage all of you vets and everyone else who has stuff you want to share or just want to see other people sharing, this is the place. So follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and follow me on all those places. You're on both of those places, right?
I am on Instagram as Armynutt with 2 T's. And Brian Bradley or Armynutt on Facebook.
Okay. And
Threads, if you want to start texting me on Threads. That's fun.
Oh gosh, I don't want to know about Threads.
That's for the new. It's like the Instagram texting or something like that, I guess.
Because we don't have enough ways to communicate. Anyways, I think this has been a wonderful communication, and I think this is a wonderful time to sign off. So thank you, and I will see you next time on Smoking Poetry Podcast. Should we do like a thing? All right. The awkward endings. Brian has a poem to share.
Thanks, Mike. So whenever I say in my belly, you whisper in my belly. Okay?
Okay.
This poem is called IBS Shitty. I got something wrong in my belly.
In my belly.
It's kind of embarrassing, but I gotta tell you what's going on in my belly.
In my belly.
It's only 3 little letters, but it doesn't make the story any better. I got something going on in my belly.
In my belly.
Every time she gets crazy, my sphincter gets lazy. I get real worried about my belly. Milk, cheese, and sour cream attack me in my dreams. Now I'm sitting on the can, turning on my fan. I'm getting attacked by my belly. I got something wrong in my belly.
In my belly.
It's kind of embarrassing, but I gotta tell you what's going on in my belly.
That.
Hot sauce, buffalo sauce, give me that caffeine. In less than an hour, I'll be in the back of the latrine. Why can't you see what I mean? I'm getting attacked by my belly. I got something wrong in my belly.
In my belly.
It's only 3 little letters, but it doesn't make the story any better. I got something really messed up in my belly.
In my belly.
I like to get a pizza with a lot of meat and cheese and order a pint of beer. Boy, I hope the potty is near. Oh, nuts, I got the bubble guts. Oh, shit, this is knucking futs. I'm getting attacked by my belly. Irritable bowel syndrome. Those 3 little letters turn in 3 big words. It grabs people by the herds to go drop off a bunch of tiny turds. Oh, man, I'm not just a fan, but we're all getting attacked by our belly.
In my belly.
That's IBS Shitty.
It's been the shittiest episode ever on Smoking Poetry Podcast. See you next time.